Okay guys, it's Nico here. I hope you can hear me well. We're going to talk a bit this morning in this new podcast series about the latest developments that have been made with my colleague Kantara in the past few days. So, there are still quite a few significant points that have been explored and were really important to revisit, especially in comparison to the initial test sessions and beta tests we conducted. So, there are some interesting things, especially in terms of HFT Signo, the HFT signal S5, which is particularly relevant. I really encourage you to use it. Personally, I mainly use it on the Nasdaq, but even on an SP 500, it can be interesting, although it's much more liquid. You just need to adjust the X impact feature a bit. On the SP 500, given that the spreads are relatively tight, I reduce it. For example, on the Nasdaq, I trigger my signal as soon as I have an impact that's greater, say, than 4 or 5, especially in the afternoon during the US session. Sometimes, I set it to 5, which means that as soon as there's a volume that has an impact on prices of more than 5 ticks, my signal automatically triggers. This works really well on the Nasdaq. HFT signal S1 has also been reviewed, and S2 works quite well for detecting icebergs. After that, it's always the same with icebergs, either you follow them, hoping they reject before getting crushed, or on the contrary, you work on the breakout, hoping it gets completely dismantled, and once that iceberg is gone, you have a price phenomenon, like a door opening in the prices. So, as I was saying, the signals have been substantially improved, and it's really getting serious. It's really starting to become very, very good. So, we made some other improvements, especially regarding the bridge. We've also done a lot of work on the bridge piton. We're on version 4.2 now. Similarly, we've reduced the number of coroutines to minimize back and forth communication between METAquant and MT5 via the bridge. This applies to both receiving the data feed and sending trades to MT5. We've gained even more speed. We've also revisited the max function, which allows you to set a maximum number of trades that could potentially be opened automatically via METAquant. So, that has been corrected. There was a slight issue with it. Similarly, the stick function, which allows you to space out your trades, is important. When you're implementing scaling strategies, it prevents you from hitting too hard too quickly. So, you adjust this feature according to market volatility. The higher the volatility, the larger you set the stick value. For example, in the afternoon on the Nasdaq, I like to set it between 10, 20, and sometimes even 50 when there's high volatility or a major event expected. This way, my position stacking is done with a much better average price. So, this feature has also been significantly improved. What else with the bridge? Yes, we've also addressed the issue with stop loss and take profit. Sometimes, it was causing invalid positions when entered through METAquant. So, that has been corrected as well. We worked on it quite a bit. It may seem simple, but for a trader, it's something straightforward. Take profit sets the profit limit, meaning a price or point limit beyond which you'll cash in the profit and close the trade. Conversely, stop loss limits potential losses and converts unrealized losses into realized ones, stopping further damage and exiting the trade in a loss. So, it's easy to understand for a buy order, but when I had to explain that it applies to short selling too, I thought he understood it right away, but it turned out he didn't. Maybe it was a lack of clarity on my part, or maybe the specifications I gave him were not detailed enough. In software development, I increasingly understand the need for absolute clarity. It leaves no room or very little room for ambiguity. So, I had to explain that yes, You can also use stop loss and take profit for short selling. I'll explain what short selling is. It's true that for a trader, it's a concept that can be a bit surprising at first, but it's quickly integrated, and we work with it every day, so it's not a problem. But when you explain it to someone who isn't from the trading or finance world, it can be challenging. You tell them that you can sell something you don't have, and what's more, with money you don't have, because that's what short selling is. You're selling something you don't own, and you're doing it with leverage, with debt. So, you're selling something you don't have with money you don't have, and it can be a bit mind-boggling at first. So, it was necessary for me to explain all of that to him, to explain it from scratch. He said, I understand now why it was giving me invalid stop-loss orders. So, I had to explain the basics, like, yes, for a long position, the take profit will always be above the entry price, and the stop-loss will always be below. For a short position, it's the opposite, the stop-loss is above the entry price. So, we lost a bit of time on that, but nothing is ever truly lost. We spent some time on it, and now it works really well. So, all of this is integrated into Bridge 4.2, and we'll soon be integrating trailing stops. I really encourage you to test all of this. It's getting better and better. Waiting times are getting shorter, and the signal quality is becoming more and more relevant with all the testing we've done. We're really starting to see meaningful data samples that we can use for quality statistical analyses. And this allows us to adjust, optimize, and fine-tune things, as they say in the world of AI. We're doing this with Newsalgo. So, we need data, we need feedback. That's why I really emphasize this beta testing phase, which is important. I have a lot of people asking me why I'm not going live with this right away, why I'm not doing FT, MO, etc. I would say, listen, I'm still in the research and development phase. I'm in a creation phase, and I'm also in a beta testing phase. I'm doing all of this simultaneously, and I'm doing it with a lot of people. And that's excellent because it allows me to get various perspectives and not just work in isolation. The feedback from real-world usage is powerful. It can be a bit harsh at times, but at least it allows me to make drastic and meaningful adjustments based on the results produced by these tests, these beta tests. So, all of this is coming along, and it's improving. It's already working very well, honestly, and I'm happy to see that after 2.5 years, because we've been working on this for about 2.5 years, it's finally coming together. I've been in the trading and finance world for about 12 to 13 years, so achieving this milestone is always satisfying. I keep in mind all the goals that are still in place, and I thank you for your feedback, your work, your support, and all of this will continue to progress significantly. Both in terms of integrating data feeds, I'll talk more about that in a future podcast, and in terms of trading. We're still in the early stages, even though it's already producing something interesting. We're just scratching the surface. But all of this will pick up speed, even more so in the coming weeks. It's going to accelerate quite a bit. So, thank you for listening, for your loyalty, and I'll see you shortly for another podcast. Thank you very much.